Today, I'll be showing you guys how to install the Extreme Rate RGB kit for your Xbox Series X to get a really unique look. Now, they were nice enough to send it over after I approached them because, let's be honest, I thought it was really cool and I figured, what the hey, why not? You guys would probably think it's pretty cool too. So even though this is one of those things that might look really intimidating, I assure you guys it's something that everybody can dive in and achieve. A little fair warning though, this will void your warranty, so just keep that in mind. You're going to need to use a heat gun, and that heat gun is basically going to be what reveals the screws that allows you to take apart the Xbox Series X back panel. Once you finish heating it with a blow dryer or a heat gun, you're just going to slowly and gently rip off the plastic paper so that you don't screw anything up. Then using the Allen wrench that comes with the Extreme Rate kit, you're going to locate these green screws on the back and you're going to unscrew them. Once you're done unscrewing, you got to be careful with these little green screws. They are very easy to lose, so just set them aside somewhere safe. Next, you're going to want to locate your pry tool, and then you're going to want to try to pry up the back of the Xbox panel. Now, I made a little mistake here. As you see, I'm trying to pry up the back, trying to figure out why I can't, and it's because there's another part to this. So one important thing to note is if you have a model like mine, you won't have some plastic-based sticker that you can just use a heat gun over. This is actually plastic. Like, it's that hard, thick plastic that's almost the same material as the console itself right over here. I'm literally having to like gouge out parts of the plastic, as you guys can probably see here, and yeah, it makes you think you're destroying your console, all in a means to keep you from opening it. So that's something you might want to think about, but that's something I did want to note because that can make this build way more difficult than it is. I'm sitting here with the heat gun wondering why the heat gun isn't working. Well, that's why it's not working, is because this is literally like a plastic sticker. It's like the same material as the console, like I was saying. It's so hard to get off. You got to be aware of that with these consoles. I don't know why they're making it hard, but they are. Once you get that really difficult sticker off from over the screw, you're going to use the Allen wrench that comes with the Extreme Rate kit, and you're just going to unscrew that screw that is blocking your path. Once that's finished, we just pry up the back panel and we just lift it up and off. You want to make your way over to the screws and to the far left and right, and then you want to make sure that you unscrew those. And just to give you a close-up of what that looks like, you're literally just going to take your Allen wrench and put it in that little tiny screw hole, and again, it's literally as simple as just screwing. It can be a little hard to see some of these things on camera, so I wanted to get as close as possible so you can see exactly what screws you're supposed to be unscrewing. And again, we're going to do the same thing on the other side, so we're just going to use the same included Allen wrench that comes with the Extreme Rate kit, and we're going to be unscrewing on the right side now so that we can get the back of get the fan out altogether. Now the screws are tiny, so just set them aside next to the green screws, and then we're going to focus on the next screw, which is going to be, again, used with the Allen wrench that comes with it, and we're going to make sure that we unscrew this little part of the fan here. We're just going to apply pressure. If you have Herculean strength, you might be able to get it on your first go, but you might need to apply a little bit more pressure beforehand in order to be able to get it off easily. So food for thought there. Now you take that screw and you set it aside with the others, and then we're going to take out the power cable. So all we're going to do is unhook the fan power like so. It's very simple. Just find it and unhook it. Next, we take the wires out of the wire management holder, and then we just simply lift up the fan so you guys can see what it looks like. It literally just looks like this. There's really not a whole lot to it. You're going to want to locate the alcohol pack that they gave you, and you're going to rip it, and then obviously we're going to make sure that we give our fan a good dusting, if you will, to make sure that there's nothing that's going to keep the adhesives from sticking to the fan itself. So just give it a thorough wipe and make sure that you're good to go. So now we're going to lift the console up, and inside this little cubby hole here, you're going to make sure you apply the adhesive as close to you as you possibly can. Now I'm going to make sure I swab it first so that, again, there's no dust or anything preventing it from sticking. That way, of course, the adhesive can stick better than it would have. So just be a little thorough when you wipe it, and again, similarly make sure that everything is good to go. Next, locate the fan lights. Now this is going to be the most time-consuming part, so just be patient and apply all the adhesives correctly. In my case, the adhesive was being a little tricky, so I had to break out the heat gun once more and heat up the adhesive to make sure that it would come off. Otherwise, I'd be sitting there literally all day trying to separate the blue from the white. I can't stress how important it is that you do not rip the white from the blue. You have to just take the blue piece off by itself. So again, once you rip the blue from the white, I can't stress how time consuming this next part is. You have to apply all the little adhesive pieces individually. And again, that can take a substantial amount of time, so just be a little patient. Now we're going to take the right side of the LED fan vent hole and we're going to route our adhesive through so that way it can go all the way around in a full circle and really connect properly. When you've done that part, your fan should look something like this. Now you want to make sure that you rotate the blades and make sure that the LED lights are not getting caught on the blades themselves, so that way you're not damaging your Xbox Series X fan. In the next part, we're going to rip apart the adhesive and we're going to apply it to the back of the microchip on the fan, or at least the RGB lights, so that we can, again, be able to adhere it to the Xbox Series X. As you're putting it on the back, make sure you don't forget to take off the back adhesive, but don't be too rough and again, separate too much of it. You're just trying to take the white part off of the clear adhesive, so that way, again, it can stick. If you do it wrong, you're going to damage it. So again, just be patient. Otherwise, you'll regret it in the long run. With the microchip facing you, you want to make sure that the wires are pointing towards you. You don't want the wires facing the back. They must be facing towards you, coming out in your direction, almost like an antenna. Now, you want to make sure that, again, you install the microchip first, otherwise it's going to be very difficult, and you want to do it as close to the front as humanly possible, because if you install it in the back, the wires will not reach with the power connector in the front. So just be mindful of that when you're doing the install. Unfortunately, I wasn't aware of that, so I had to take the whole thing apart, and then I had to basically hope I didn't rip off my adhesive and do all of that just to reinstall it correctly. So I can't stress the importance of this part. You want the microchip closer to you instead of further back, or even where it looks like it would go. You want to be very, very cautious of that. Also, you want to make sure the wires are already taken out. You don't want to put the fan in before pulling out the purple wires. And then you're going to connect the one wire to the fan, and then you're going to connect the smaller wire to the power supply that you have connected to the hard drive or whatever it is. So hopefully my vague, really terrible instructions aren't throwing you off too much and you can kind of see what I'm doing here. It will be very straightforward, I promise, even if my instruction for that particular portion wasn't the greatest. But you guys can clearly see. Just make sure it's firmly in there, it's secure, and it's good to go. That way it can get power. Next, we're going to do some wire management. We're going to take these loose dangling wires and we're just going to route them through the cable holders, and that will be able to clean up the look a little bit better and also hopefully prevent fire hazards. Again, I wouldn't be able to tell you how to do wire management. Obviously, you want to make sure you're not destroying anything and just tucking it into places that are awkward and that it doesn't go. So just be smart about where you put the wires, put them in a place where it doesn't seem like you'd cause any issues, and make sure that the power supply is not being blocked off by anything and that it just makes sense. Getting our screw from earlier, we're going to put the big one in first, right in the center. We're going to drop it down. Then again, using the included Allen wrench, we're just going to slowly but steadily button ourselves back up. Next, we get our tiny little screws from earlier, and similarly, we just drop them right back in the holes we took them out of in the corner left and right positions. So we're just going to make sure we line them up correctly, and then we're going to screw everything in appropriately. Locate your back panel and make sure that you line up the tops with the bottom, and you make sure these bottom clips down here go into those little holes down there, so that way the console doesn't overlap and you don't kind of screw some things up or break those clips at the bottom. Very important that you be mindful of this little hole at the bottom here, because you can cause some problems if you do it on the outside, kind of clipping over the case. So you want to make sure it's inside the console, not on the outside. Be very careful with those clips. Additionally, as you go to lay the console down, be mindful of the top. The top has to line up with the top, and if you don't line it up that way, you're just not going to be able to get the console back together. So just make sure the top goes on first, then be mindful of pushing in the bottom by clipping them down, and then slowly making sure that the wires aren't sticking out or anything crazy like that. And then you're just going to push it down, apply a little bit of pressure. If you have to force something, don't, because you need to readjust it. It should snap into place fairly easily with very minimal effort. Now we get our green screws that we opened up the console with, and we're just going to put them back where we got them from. So again, one in the top and the other goes down in the bottom. Then we get our Allen wrench and we just button it back up the way we took it apart, put it back together. Very easy, very, very simple. And now comes the fun part. We find our power cable and we just plug that bad boy back in. Take out our trusty dusty remote and be sure you don't lose it. It's paramount. It really won't work without the remote. So again, don't lose it. Take the battery cover out and there you go. Now push it in, make sure it's good to go, make sure nothing's loose, and let's play with some of the effects here. So as you guys can see, you have RGB, you have a different kind of RGB where it cycles multiple colors, more slower RGBs that kind of pan around, and a various amount of other effects. Go ahead and hit that ISO so you guys can see, but really in a nutshell, you guys are getting the idea. The effects are absolutely incredible, and I love just how many of them there are. I love that this little green thing kind of spins around. Reminds me a little bit of kind of like Batman or maybe like some classic cartoon as they kind of fade in and out of the transition screens, but that's neither here nor now. The coolest thing is that, again, you have all of these different options to play around with, and again, it enhances your Xbox Series X experience. So if you're okay with voiding your warranty because you really, frankly, don't put much faith in manufacturers anyway to do the right thing by you, then this is an awesome mod to do. Personally, I was willing to take the risk because I really don't care either way. And honestly speaking, I really think that this just changes the game literally for me, making my Xbox look a lot more like a PC. I was so blown away the first time I ever saw anything like this, so to be able to complete a mod like this myself, I'm actually feeling really accomplished and happy. Granted, I am a PC gamer and I kind of redid my entire internal power supply and all that other stuff, but that's neither here nor now. I'm kind of used to tinkering. But if you're new to this kind of thing, it can be scary, so be advised. This is a very, very easy thing to do. Don't be intimidated. It looks a lot harder than it actually is. But if you like videos like this, smack a like on this video, subscribe, join the journey, and thank you guys so much for watching the #1 brand in honesty. Until the next video, I'll see you guys later.